Hi, I'm Brandon LaBeouf, owner of Noble Tech Training and Consulting, as well as the St. Bernard Indoor Shooting Center. In this installment of our Louisiana Concealed Handgun Permit Instructor Development Series, I want to talk a little bit about instructor ego and how it relates to your background and how you present that to students. I've been to a lot of different classes from a lot of different instructors across the country as it pertains to everything from medical to precision shooting to handgun, shotgun, rifle to legal aspects to verbal de-escalate, a wealth of topics. Almost every one of those presentations, if it's on a PowerPoint, begins with a slide that introduces the instructor and gives some degree of their background. Maybe where they went to school, what their law enforcement, military, what is their background? What, in their opinion, gives them the credibility to teach that material? That's an important aspect of the student's experience. Okay, from a practical standpoint, they're already in the chair, they paid to be there, so at some level they kind of bought what you're selling, so to speak. But we also want them to understand, and this is the only reason why I put that type of slide up, and I speak to this in my classes, is to give them perspective. And what I mean by that is you're going to have them trapped in that classroom for 8 to 9 hours, if you're doing a class properly, for 8 to 9 hours, and you're going to be feeding them a lot of information. And you're not going to have the opportunity to go into each little tidbit and vet it and cite it and this is where it came from. Some of it they're going to have to kind of take your word for it. Well, if they're going to take your word for it, it's important that they know where that word came from. Okay, where did you get this information? Why is this your opinion? Or why is this the particular technique or piece of equipment or whatever that you prefer? So when we do that, for example, I have a somewhat varied background, law enforcement, military, private contracting, formal education, some expert witness stuff. I've done a little bit of a lot of things. So there's times where I draw from those different areas of my life experience and education as it relates to the thing I'm talking about. I don't put that slide up there that go, ooh, look at me and all the things I've done and all that. They should have already done their homework and researched you to see if you're someone that they want to pay money to and take a class from that is potentially gonna determine the future of their life. So hopefully they've done a little bit of due diligence in seeking you out as an instructor, or maybe they just took it from a friend, word of mouth, or maybe they just Googled CHP class and yours was the first one that came up. But we don't want to spend too much time going into that because, again, every minute in these classes is absolutely valuable, and we have to give the students the most that we can give them. And not only just the most we can give them, but the most important that we could give them in that time. So we need to prioritize information, obviously within staying in the framework of what we're certified to teach. If you're teaching NRA Basic Pistol, that's kind of already done for you. You're going to teach these things. If you get through that class in 7.5, 8 hours and you hang them on for another hour and you feed them additional information outside of NRA, it becomes even more important that you prioritize the information you give them. If you're teaching a 9-hour format, then you have a little more kind of leeway in the exact information you present. So it's important that you fill every single minute with something that is value added to them. War stories, or let me tell you, this one time I was on this traffic stop. Like, if it's not directly relevant to what you're talking about, yes, you have to put some humor and you have to break kind of the monotony of just feeding them information, but make sure you're not devoting too much time to your ego and trying to sell yourself on your students, okay? Put that stuff online, put it on a website, say, hey, look, guys, this is a little bit about my background. I mean, literally what I say is, I'll put this slide up here to give you some perspective, a little bit about my background, nothing too impressive, a little bit of law enforcement, military, some private contracting, a little bit of formal education. I'll put this up here and I go into what I just told you about how important it is that they understand where that information is coming from. For example, if you go to your doctor and your doctor says, hey, you got a heart murmur, does it become relevant to you if the doctor you're talking to, because instructor, doctor, those are two kind of broad titles. If the doctor that's telling you have a heart murmur is a heart doctor or a proctologist. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong either way just because, but if you have nothing else to go on, you're probably going to weigh the opinion of that heart doctor just a little bit more at face value. The heart doctor could be wrong and the proctologist could be right, but you're probably going to, again, weigh the opinion of the guy that deals with hearts all day long. So same thing with us. If you're in this, don't be embarrassed. Students will much more appreciate and respect someone with an honest, sharp resume than someone with a slightly exaggerated, longer resume. I've seen a lot of people's websites and things that they have the same bullet point 3 or 4 different times, just worded a little differently to make it seem like more things, but it's actually the exact same thing. So just be honest with your students. They're gonna connect to that. They're gonna identify with that. They're gonna respect that. Okay? If all you've ever done is you just recently taken an NRA Basic Pistol Instructor course and you're teaching an NRA Basic Pistol Instructor, put that up there. Hi guys, I'm Brandon LaBeouf. I'm gonna be instructing the course today. A little bit about my background. I've been shooting for 3 or 4 years now, and I'm really excited about it. I want to spread that information to other people. So I recently took an NRA Basic Pistol Instructor course, and now I'll be presenting that information to you today. So let's get started. It could be as simple as that. You don't want to fabricate things, because again, that opens up a whole other Pandora's box should any of your students ever go into go into court because they've had to use lethal force. And now, as you get subpoenaed and all this comes out, not only the embarrassment, but you could be looking at some litigation and or being perjured. So we don't want to go down that road. Honesty is always the best policy. So make sure we don't let our ego take over our course. Make sure we're being honest with our students about our backgrounds and where our information is coming from. And always be ready for that one person to ask for some kind of proof. The things I put on my website or the things I put on there, I don't put anything public that I can't verify with documentation, either an actual certificate that I attended or pictures or something. There's a whole lot of stuff that I've done that I don't really publicly put out there because maybe I took a class with some guy and we didn't get a certificate for it. So I don't include that because I can't point to a certificate or a roster or something to show it, because that's the world we live in today. People unfortunately tend to exaggerate and fabricate things. So you can't really blame people for not trusting it when you put up this slide with 18 bullet points of all these classes you've taken. Okay? Some of us have, some of us haven't. So just be honest. And as always, be vigilant, be prepared. Y'all stay safe.